Welcome back to the Bourbon Retriever. My name is Chris, and today we're going to be talking about what are the best value bottles from each of the major distilleries. Now, what are they? Let's find out. So you walk into a liquor store down the street from you, and it feels like there are just 1,000 different SKUs. Even from like each distillery, it feels like there's like another 30 to 40 SKUs from that one distillery alone. So today I'm going to be walking through with you what I think is the best value for your dollar in the quality of whiskey that you're getting. Now, this isn't going to be the cheapest whiskey that you can get from the distillery. It is more of what your dollar per quality unit. I don't know, it's kind of really weird economic terms, but with whiskey, there's kind of a diminishing returns with the quality of whiskey, right? So you kind of have your value beginner whiskey, which, to be honest, the quality isn't that great. You're mostly buying those to mix in cocktails and to honestly get drunk. People are looking the cheapest way to get drunk. But once you start moving up the scale, you start getting a more premium whiskey, and this is when you start drinking it neat. You're starting getting more flavors. The flavors are lasting longer, they're more complex. And as you go up the scale, even to way more expensive top 10 premium whiskeys, it starts elevating the quality. However, there is a massive diminishing returns. Like going from $15 whiskey to $50 whiskey is a massive bump. You're only paying another like $35 and you're getting a drastic increase in quality. However, when you go from like that $50 to $200 price, there is a increase in quality, but for paying another 3 times your price, you aren't really getting 3x return in quality. Now, the other thing I took into factoring this list is the time it takes to get some of these bottles. The MSRP on a lot of them is relatively inexpensive, but once you take into the time it's going to take to get those bottles or the price you have to pay on secondary, they no longer are a value. So I took that into consideration in also making this list. But the first distillery and bottle we're talking about today is from the Jack Daniels Distillery, and this is the barrel proof rye. I think this is the best rye that you can get on the market today. These are, I want to say, roughly like $65 to $70 in my region, especially if you can get the higher proof ones, like the ones that are closer to like 138. Those have been absolutely fantastic. Every single one of these I've loved. They've been worth that $65, $70 price tag, and some of them have been worth almost, to me, like maybe double that. Like they compete with some of the top tier LE whiskey ryes that come out every year. When these first came out, they were a little hard to get. People were scooping them up and hoarding them, but now you can find them at almost every liquor store. So if you do not own one of these bottles, and also if you're looking to maybe venture into the rye category, this is definitely one to consider. So this next distillery is one that I know people have a hard time finding, but they are becoming easier in my area. And specifically, it is the Buffalo Trace Distillery, but this one is the Eagle Rare bottle. These are roughly like $45. Even the secondary on them, you can get them for like about $50-ish. So there really isn't a massive markup on them. I've been seeing these sit in my area a lot more lately, so that makes me think hopefully that you guys in your areas, these can be easier to get. And for those of you who are chasing some of the more premium, higher tier Buffalo Trace stuff, this to me is like the closest you can get to some of their ultra aged stuff without having to spend a lot of time or money chasing it. This has the most oak grapey notes that you traditionally get on some of the stags, George C. Stags. Some of the older WLWs, you get that kind of grapey note. So the other Buffalo Trace products like the East Taylor, the Elmer T. Lee's, Blanton's, Buffalo Trace, they do not have that like thick grape note. So if you're chasing that note, for those bottles that are much harder to get, this is definitely the one to get. So I thought about including for the Eagle Rare here instead, maybe the Weller 107 or Stag. However, those I think are still too hard to get. Like the amount of time you have to spend to get it, relative to how much time it would take to get this bottle, quality difference, it just doesn't quite meet in that optimal value point I'm looking at for this list. So I think this, to me, for time and money spent, is the best value Buffalo Trace product that you can get. Now, before we move on to the next bottle on this list, If you're enjoying this content, hit the subscribe button. That way you don't miss any of my future videos that I put out, including other top 10 list videos like this. But if there is a video, whether it be a list or something else that you're interested, leave a comment below. I'll take a look at it because I'm always looking to put out videos that you guys are interested in. So the next bottle on this list, I think, is the easiest bottle from this distillery to pick, and it is the Rare Breed from Wild Turkey. Now, Wild Turkey puts out some amazing products. The issue is Campari has been jacking up the price on all those LEs. Russell's 13, Russell's 15, Generations, Camp Nelson, the list goes on, Master Keeps. All those prices have just skyrocketed to where they just can't be considered values for the juice you're getting. Whereas Wild Turkey, the Rare Breed, it is fantastic whiskey. I feel like if you put this in like an NDP's bottle, they'd be asking double for what it is on the inside. This bottle routinely wins in blinds against bottles that cost double, if not more than that. But soon enough, another bottle from Wild Turkey is going to be entering the US market that will replace this one for me, and it is the Wild Turkey Rare Breed non-chill filtered. This is the same stuff, only it goes through a non-chill filtering process. I never thought that these bottles would be that much different, considering they are the same thing. It really is just a filtering difference, but it is almost night and day. With how good this bottle is, this one is just that much better. And once this bottle becomes readily available in the United States, I will be buying probably cases of them if they can taste anything close to this. And the price point on these are roughly similar. You get a liter instead of $7.50, but I imagine when they come back to the States, they'll probably be in all $7.50s. It's just the issue right now, you can only get the non-chill filtered in international and duty-free sections of airports. So that makes it rather difficult to get. You basically have to be paying a flight to go somewhere international. So with the effort and cost it would take to get that bottle, currently it could not be number one on this list, but soon enough, I think it will. So the next major distillery we're going to talk about today is Old Forester. So I was looking around my collection to try and find the bottle that I had in mind for this list, but I couldn't find it. So I'm going to have to go to my liquor store and get another one of these, and it is the Old Forester 100. This is only coming in at like $25. It's the cheapest bottle on my list today, and it goes pound for pound with bottles in this price tag, blows them out of the water, and bottles much higher than that. Now, the bottle I wanted to put on this list, but I couldn't just because of how hard they are to get, is the Old Forester 100 single barrels. These are all picks, and they are, for whatever reason, rather difficult to get. Like the blue labels, the barrel proofs, they're all over, sitting on shelves. People are dying to try and get rid of them, whereas these, for whatever reasons, I don't understand why liquor stores aren't choosing these to do picks of. For whatever reason it is, different distilleries have different like optimal proof points for the best tasting of their whiskey. And to me, for Old Forester, it is at 100 proof. But as I said earlier, with how hard these black labels are to get, for me, the winner for Old Forester are the 100 signature blends. Next, for me, the best value coming out of Four Roses is the Four Roses single barrel. This to me is like one of the best drinkers in the summer. It is light, crisp, get a good amount of oak on it too for what you're paying for it. Another nice thing about this bottle is they are all single barrels. So you're gonna get a nice mixture when you go to the store and get your next one. You'll probably get a slightly different nuanced flavors in them, but they all are great whiskey for the price of them. To me, these crush the values of their barrel proof version of these. They are relatively hard to find, and when you do find them, they're like over like $110, $100. I think $110 is what they are right now. The proof on them isn't that much different. A lot of the ones I've gotten are in like the 108 area. They can get up to like 120. They do have some hotter ones, but there really isn't much of a proof difference for the ones I've gotten recently. And this one, for the price difference, like these are like $45-ish, $50, and the barrel proof ones are like a double that to 100 plus what time it takes to get it. Now, don't get me wrong, there are some fantastic Four Roses single barrel proofs, but to me they are far and few between. And again, with the time and effort it takes to chase those honey barrels, where you can just get these on almost every liquor store, this is the one that you should be getting for your money. Now, the next distillery we're going to be talking about is Makaker Mark, and this one actually was pretty easy for me because I don't like almost all the stuff that Makers puts out. It has a weird weeded funk to them that I just personally don't really enjoy. However, these finishing series products, a lot of that wheat note is gone out of them. I don't know if it's because the finishing on it takes it away, or the extra aging on it, or something about them that takes it out. But these are really good, and some of them can be fantastic. Like this Heart Release, to me, is a top tier whiskey. I really enjoy it. The other ones are good whiskeys, nothing spectacular, crazy you need to write home for, but they're overall well-rounded, good whiskeys. The availability on them is relatively easy to get. It comes out twice a year. They do pretty big batches. They sit on the shelves. Like at my local liquor store, these are sitting on the shelf right now. Not the Heart one, but the latest one that came out. So they are relatively findable. The only thing that kills me on it is the price. I think these are closer to like $70, which to me, for the other ones, I think is an okay fair price. This one, I would kill, like definitely buy this one at $70. The other ones, I think fair prices. I think it's just for me personally, I'm not the big Maker's Mark fan, so it's just hard for me to really give high marks on it. But for the dollar for this distillery, I think these are the ones that you should be hunting for. So this next distillery was the hardest one for me to pick. They have, I think, the most brands of any distillery out there, and it is Heaven Hill. There are a ton to pick from here, but for me personally, I went with the Elijah Craig barrel proofs. Now I know I've said that these have kind of gone downhill a little bit in quality, but I still think this is, for your dollar and time you have to spend, is the best whiskey you can get from Heaven Hill. There are many of other ones you consider, like maybe the Larcenies could be getting close to supplanting the ESBPs, but I still think, as we say here today, that this is still better whiskey than the Larceny Barrel Proofs, but it is getting marginally much closer. But let me know in the comments what you think is the best value bottle coming out of Heaven Hill, or any of these other distillers on the list. Do you agree? Or more specifically, if you think there is another bottle from one of these distillers that you think I made a mistake on and should have been on this list instead. But as I was saying earlier, even though a lot of the specs in these bottles are going down, you're still getting like a 10 to 11-year-old whiskey for what I think it's like $70. That is a great value for the flavor profile you're getting, the proof, the age. I think it is one of the best values in whiskey that you can get. And with the, I guess, the specs going down, these are becoming much more accessible. These are always sitting in my area. You can get past batches, maybe in a year ago, still sitting on the shelves. So these are easily to get. If you ever run out, you can definitely go get another one. And I think it is good quality. If you've never had one, definitely go and get one of these. Now, coming out of the Barton Distillery, I got the Full Proof from 1792. I think this is the most accessible of the 792s. That is pretty good. You have the 792 small batch. That is on every shelf you can go find. But the rest of them are picks and kind of be more hit or miss to find, like the single barrel, the bottle and bond, the Full Proof. And then they have some special releases like the 12-year, the Sweet Wheat. I think I saw some TGB labels that are going to be doing some other finishing series, so a lot of those other ones are much harder to find. Whereas these Full Proofs, they do come and go, but if you're hunting in your area for a year or so, you'll eventually see some of these pop up, and they won't fly too fast. So another cool thing about this whiskey from Barton is you can get this at a fraction of the price that many of the NDPs are charging. Many NDPs for their top end premium whiskeys are using high aged Barton whiskey, whereas you can get this for a fraction of the cost. It is relatively younger, but you get a lot of the same notes in it for roughly $45, $50. These are fantastic whiskeys for that price. I know some people though in my area have told me that these can be a little ethanol forward for them. They are single barrels now, so maybe some aren't as good as others, but the 2 to 3 that I have that fantastic grape jam note that I love in those Barton whiskeys. So if you like those NDPs from Barton and are looking for something that fits the bill but at a much easier to obtain price wise, this is definitely one to look to add to your shelf. So this is another distillery that I'm not a fan of probably most of the products they put out, and it is Jim Beam. But I am a big fan of the Knob Creek line that they have. Specifically, if you can get the Knob Creek single barrels, these are $60-ish, and they are absolutely fantastic. Especially for this series now, they're starting to relax the proof points, so they're not all going to be 120 proof. You're going to start getting some much lower proof, much higher proof. And me personally, I am chasing for ones that can be the lower proof, because I bet you they're going to taste fantastic. 'Cause I'm chasing more of those lower proof whiskeys. But to me, this kills many of the Jim Beam expensive products, like all the Bookers, anything that has those like light peanut notes, the Basil Haydens. I think this is so much better, and it is for a fraction of the cost of those, and it doesn't take as much time to hunt these as it does many of those premium Beam products. Now, I've never had a bad Knob Creek single barrel, so you can go to your local liquor store, get one for $60, and be pretty confident in it. However, if you are in touch with your local bourbon community, keep an eye out, because you can find some much older ones. Like this one is an 11-year one that came out last year, and I had to snag it up because most of them are roughly like that 9-year age statement now. So take a look at the label, see if you can see any that are much older than that. And if it is like 10 plus, definitely pick it up. So now the newest kid on the block, Barstown, is starting to put out a ton of different SKUs. But for me, the best bottle you can get from them is their weeded bourbon here with the tan label. These I can get for like $38, and they are absolutely fantastic. I think these go toe to toe with the Weller 107. They're both the same proof point, both weeded bourbons. They are different profiles, but the silkiness, creaminess of this Barstown weeded is absolutely fantastic. So the other bottle I was considering here is the Barstown Discoveries. However, those, especially the good ones, can be harder to get, and the price point on them is a lot higher. We're looking at like 140, I think, is what those go for. So for at $40, this is at a fraction of the cost. They're on every liquor store. You don't have to wait for whenever one drops. You don't have to hope that it's a good blend. So I think for value, time, energy, money you have to spend, this is the one to get. It is absolutely fantastic for that. So that's my list of the best value bottles from each of the major distilleries. But leave a comment below on what is your favorite value bottle from each of the distilleries. But before you head out, if you're enjoying this content, hit the subscribe button. That way you don't miss any of my future videos. And check out this video before you head out. And until next time, cheers.